So this is our second to last session, and I want to just start with a warm-up, fun little activity. What we will do is use our camera button to turn on and off our video. And it's a game called True to You. So I will read a statement, and if it's true to you, the statement is true for you, you leave your video on. If it's not true for you, you shut your video off, okay? So we'll just do a few practice ones, like let's do this one. I prefer hot weather over cold weather. So in my case, I turn my video off because I would rather be cold than hot any day. How about I have changed my writing habits since the beginning of this follow on. True for you or not? True for most of you. Good. Okay. How about I have connected with a writing buddy over the last few months, either as part of this group or maybe another colleague. Is that true for you or not? Good. Writing buddy is good. How about writing is the first thing to go when I am busy? It's the first thing I push off when I am busy. And that is true for me. It's up there with exercise, maybe. It's either my writing goes or my exercise routine goes, but usually it's the writing. How about I have created a happy space, or I have a happy space, a good space for to do my writing. Is that true for you? True for most of you, not Laura yet. We can work on that, Laura. All right, and how about I will have a manuscript or a piece of writing ready to submit by February 16th. Is that true for you or not? Yes. Good. For most of you, that's true. Excellent. So thank you for doing that. Let's take a few minutes to see where folks are. If they want to share what has been happening since we last met, I'd love to hear what your victories are, what your struggles are. And then I think we'll actually take some time to talk about next steps and maybe even give you a little bit of writing time this time. So anyone want to share updates in terms of where things are?
I'm happy to start. Okay, thanks, Mary. Well, for me, I thought that in January, I will have a lot of time to do some writing. And I actually finished a Hungarian article, which was the #1 priority because of the deadline. And then in the last 2 weeks, I was like, okay, let's start this article. But there were so many things coming up that I eventually started, but it was very hard to find time. But what changed since the beginning of this seminar is that now I have this mindset when I sit down to writing, no matter whether this is for this specific seminar or anything else, I was like, okay, I should enjoy this because this is what I do. So I try to frame this mindset in this way, and I actually really enjoy it. I did some writing. So the article that I want to submit, I found the journal already, I think that even before Christmas. And now what I did is that I downloaded lots of references from other Q1, Q2 journals in the USA, and also from that specific journal. And I even wrote the introduction, which would be like 3 pages, but not with the very small line spacing, but the proper introduction. And for me, this takes always the longest time. And I know some people say that write the introduction at the end, but I can't. I have to know what I'm writing about. So for me, this takes a lot of time and effort to think about what I'm going to put into the paper. But as now the introduction is ready, and I already have the data, I have the methodology basically ready, and I collected all the literature that I know how to systematically put into the paper. I think it will be possible to finish it. I really, really hope so.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot.
When you say you sit down and you tell yourself I should enjoy this, what makes it enjoyable? For those of us who are like struggling to get going, what is it
Yeah.
that's enjoyable about it?
Yeah, first of all, I think of it as like me time.
Yeah.
Because this is a time when I'm talking to nobody. I'm not taking calls. I try to block my phone so that it's out of sight, so that it doesn't distract me.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to think in a way that what I'm doing now is something useful,
Mm-hmm.
or it can have an added value. And
Mm-hmm.
previously, I didn't have this mindset. I just sat down and said, okay, let's write something. But now I don't think like let's write something, but let's write something good. So this is how I think I should develop, because previously I had some Q2 journal articles, only two, but still, I want to continue on this road. So I think this helps to say that you are writing something that is actually useful.
Excellent. Yes, that I think that's really important to remember, that it's me time, right? And it's time you're giving yourself for your own career, because being published is really important for most of you in terms of, your job and getting tenured or whatnot. And so it's committing time to you. So much, I think, of your jobs as professors is giving time to students and prepping courses and meeting with students. And so it's important too to have a little bit of that selfish view, thinking, I've got to do this for me, and giving yourself the priority at times. So I like
Yes.
how you
Yes,
said
and
that.
it really helped. One tip that I think you Katie gave us is that block the calendar for you. And it's
Mhm.
so selfish, but now I really enjoy it. I mean, it's
Good.
not selfish, but it's for me. So what I'm
Right.
doing now is like I'm blocking appointments with myself, and it
Mhm.
works. For me, it works.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it's a good practice that works for you. Maria, you wanted to share?
Well, at the start of the seminar, I was very tight with time, and I had so many projects already started. And first, for the last 10 years, I've been doing research into English, American, Irish literature, but then I switched to theology, and not only Roman Catholic, but then Orthodox, where I come from. So I was, and then the Seattle pluralism in religion started. So I was fighting on two fronts, because I teach at this school of theology and I have to write theological essays. And again, my passion is in literature and Joyce. And so I was like, bipolar. Well, it's just a joke. So at the start, I was confused. Oh, should I write something in related to theology? So my first abstract that I sent you, and it was a brand new article, and I didn't have research enough, and it was not fit for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
And I was relieved when I realized I should have asked, but I forgot to ask, that you can write about anything. So I worked on, after that, I worked on my on an essay, because during the summer, just before Seattle started, I was invited to deliver a Zoom lecture online for the postgraduate students in Brazil. It is a state university, forgot the name, federal something university, but it was related to Joyce, because my dear colleague Caetano Galindo is a great translator of Joyce. So we met in Trieste a couple of years ago, and they invited me to join their to submit something for their journal Quora with a Q. And just before New Year, I got the approval that they liked the essay, just to take a look at some notes that they had, like omitted D or something. So yes, it is my first publication across the Atlantic and in South America, so very near to Laura.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's but the other projects are still, and plus I'm revising my translation of Ulysses, so it's right. I curse Joyce, but I love him with my whole heart, but he's very difficult to, I mean, the Hungarians, they translated it, one of the latest translations in Hungarian came out in 2012 but 4 professors worked on it. Wow. And I'm single, just me. So I did my translation 10 years ago, but I want to revise it because it's, you know, it's always revision and decisions, as T.S. Eliot used to say in The Wasteland. Proefrock, actually. And I still don't have the energy right now because I'm going through a personal crisis with my partner, sort of like, I don't know what it is, but we're definitely splitting, even though we had a church wedding just 2 months ago, but it's a very hard time. So I'm telling you everything. I'm very, but
that's
I still have one project.
That affects our writing process too, like what is happening in our personal lives. Yes. To be able to step out of something of that gravity, you know, and put yourself into work is so challenging. Yeah, I commend you for your efforts. But you were saying, go ahead. Or you can finish, Maria.
Yeah, I want to propose Maria whether she wants to teach us or to do a seminar on Joyce, so we can read Joyce in English and you can write, and instead of worrying about personal problems, we can swim in Joyce literature. Then we can arrange. It will be great.
Yeah. Very good.
Idea. Thank you. Would love to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Katie, but I don't know.
No, that's good idea. So Maria, you
see, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I want to mention a huge event is coming up, and during one's lifetime, you can only have, I don't know, a few hundred years of something, especially the guy you so much admire as a writer. So on February the 2nd is the centenary of Ulysses. It was published on Joyce's birthday. February the 2nd is his birthday. So 140 years of the birth of Joyce and 100 years of Ulysses. And all my friends from the Joycean community, and it's a very welcoming community, they are preparing, you can just Google Bloomsday anywhere or Ulysses 100 and events will come up. And 2 days ago, an American colleague, Steve Cole, he used to work for NASA, but he's a Joyce enthusiast. He's now retired. He pulled us together like, okay, guys, send us a selfie with holding Ulysses in your hand and choose one quote from Ulysses, like 40 words, and 40 words explain why. And that was more difficult than writing an essay. I mean, out of 1,000 and so many beautiful quotes, and I don't know if I mean, Bloom makes you laugh, but then Stephen Dedalus, so I picked one which suited me best for this turmoil personal that I'm going through. The creative imagination, all of me or none of all, non serviam. So I think it's a great motto. And my dad, who is a priest, I told him, yes, Maria, non serviam. So
I love that.
creative imagination is what makes us human, and we should always keep that in mind.
That's
all.
beautiful.
I won't bother you.
That's inspirational. Wow, she's ready to give that lecture, Laura. So great. Thank you, Maria. We'll be thinking about you on February 2nd. Galvatrak, Yash, please share.
How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Now Mongolia is cold this time. Now 25 minus degree in outside.
Mm-hmm.
Very heavy snow. Yeah. Cold this time. It's very nice to me.
Good.
Yeah. Now I already prepared my article. I had a question from 3,400 students and
Good.
500,000 teachers.
Wow.
I already did my articles design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that mid of the February I already did my articles design all thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have your research collected,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
data is collected, and
Now I cultivating my research design and research research on space program, SS program. Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Good. And you'll think you'll have something for mid-February?
Yeah. I think maybe after 10 days I already.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
So what is working for you? What is allowing you to make progress?
Is it okay? This all thing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I will send my article to science papers, 2 science journals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually one journal at a time, right?
Yeah.
So you send your article to one journal and they can review it. And then
I
you'll
will
hear.
try 2 journals.
Well, be careful because sometimes they say you can only submit to one journal at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's a rule where it can only be reviewed under one journal. And until you hear back from the journal, you need to wait. But as soon as you hear back from that journal and figure out what your plan is, you can submit it to the second journal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, that's exciting though.
Yeah.
Good going.
Yeah.
Laura, would you like to share? More of the same?
Yeah, I don't have. I'm here just free writing for this. In this session. Perhaps I will I will have something more concrete. Obviously, not an article, but in February. But these days, I don't know. Sorry.
Don't apologize. No, don't apologize. There's a
Still
lot.
summer over there.
Exactly. There's a lot pulling at everybody, and we all have different life circumstances, balancing work and kids and COVID and everything else these days. So you do what you can. You try to set yourself up for success, and sometimes even just doing that can be challenging because, like we've all talked about, oftentimes writing is the first thing we have to push off. So
Yes, you know, and here it's not an excuse, but just to know something else about Argentina, you know that we had a light cuts of light supply, you know, electricity. We didn't
yes.
have at home
Wow.
because it's too hot, and you know,
Yeah.
here, okay. So we moved for some time from my mother's house. Now we are back. My kids are with COVID. I mean, Argentina is I don't know, it's a nightmare these days.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think you all do a great job shedding light on the different situations that don't necessarily allow us, you know, to be in a frame of mind to write. Writing's very challenging, you know, to sit down and formulate thoughts.
Mhm.
Life has to be pretty balanced. So that's the reality of it. And ideally, this mini course is giving you some tools that will allow you to kind of reposition writing in your life as something that's less daunting and something more habitual. You know, using that calendar to schedule in time for yourself and for your writing process. And that's the goal, is really to kind of look at your writing practice and shift it in whatever ways you can. And even just noticing why you can or cannot write is a good exercise in itself. Like, what are the different elements that I need in my life to be able to focus in on my writing, versus what's pulling at me right now and too much of a distraction. So good. Thank you all for sharing. And no matter where you are in this process, the fact that you are all here making this, you know, a priority is important. So congrats to you all for that. So I was just looking over kind of where we are in the calendar and what we have coming up. And some of you have a workable manuscript at this point, which is fantastic. And you'll see that our next few weeks are really focused on editing, the editing process, both the macro edits, which is like shifting, you know, this chunk over to this area and making big changes. And then down to the micro edits, which is the line by line, you know, word choice or adding punctuation or spell check, you know, those minor little things, getting the manuscript spick and span as quality as possible for it to be submitted. So the one thing I want to encourage you to do, and I know none of you have your partners here, it looks like, because I was just looking at your writing buddy assignments, and it looks like we've got Sandrella, Diana is out, Natalia wrote me and said she's not feeling well, and Hessa. So your actual writing buddies aren't here right now. But I do want to encourage you, if you haven't already, to offer your assistance, offer to read through your buddy's manuscript, and vice versa if you have something to share with them, because a second set of eyes is always fantastic. And your buddy might not be in the same area of work as you, but sometimes that actually helps because they're seeing it from an outside perspective and they can assess the clarity of the points that you make and even assess the flow of your manuscript. So I would encourage you to reach out, set up, you know, a deadline for you to switch and swap and read each other's manuscripts if you haven't already, and then set up a time to converse over Zoom to talk through some of the things that you noticed. And do that maybe on the earlier end, maybe by the end of a week's time, you could be talking. So then you have, you know, a week or two to do any revisions that you want. I'm curious to hear, I think a lot of you left your cameras on in terms of when I asked if you're working with a writing buddy, I'm curious to hear what that experience has looked like and how it has been beneficial or not to your writing process. Does anyone want to share? Maria.
Well, I stayed on because Cinderella actually sent me her abstract, so I made comments the way you did to my abstract, so it was mostly English related, and I told her so that I'm not into economics, but these are just suggestions that might help sound it more English, but I haven't heard from her since then.
Okay.
But yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah, basically the same here. I think it was before Christmas that we exchanged, but in the same way, we commented on each other's work, and I think it's very helpful because even if the person is outside of your research domain, maybe English-wise, something pops up that we haven't noticed yet. So, so yeah, it was useful. For me or for us, it was, I think, one-time issue. But now I also received an email from Natalia sending me the manuscript. So now I'm behind with sending mine. But hopefully, maybe I will send the ones that I have already, the first several pages.
Great. Excellent. So I think the other purpose of this mini course too is to help you all see, and we haven't really used, I think, maybe our writing buddies or our accountability friends as much as I had intended. But the goal really is for you to see that the writing process is such a social process. And maybe I mentioned this early on, but I just see this, throughout our whole career as writers, right? My son is 10 years old and he's just really getting into narrative writing and such. And his ability to, map it out first and then talk it through really assists with his writing process. And I think the same holds true no matter what level of writing that we're doing, to be able to talk about it first with someone, or to try to take a big thought and synthesize it into an abstract. All of these things require, that social interaction with each other. So the idea has been to set up systems of support. How well we've used those might vary, but I do encourage you, especially as we move into our final few weeks, to connect with your partner and get some feedback. The other thing I want to emphasize is, as you're in that micro editing stage, be sure that you're circling back to your journal submission guidelines and making sure that you're checking all the boxes in terms of the regulations, like the font size and how many words, and just double checking, because the last thing you want is to have spent so much time on this manuscript just to realize that, oh shoot, I didn't do this correctly or whatnot. So it's this constant back and forth between those journal guidelines for your particular journal and your manuscript to make sure that you're doing, everything correctly. I want to open up to questions, comments as we, get into our last final weeks. Does anyone have anything they're curious about or wondering?
I might have a question, but it's regarding the language, because this is always my concern. Even though in the two papers that I have in quality journals, the language was never questioned, which I suppose is good. But at this point, what I'm trying to do is write the article best way I can, of course, but also in terms of language. So are there any, I don't know, smaller handbooks which might contain useful expressions that I can put into my own research. I have a collection, but I don't feel that sometimes it's the best. So if any of you might have heard of a book or a note that says that, okay, this is how you should write and what kind of expressions, sentences you should put into the process, then it will be great.
That's great. That's a great question, Anita. I'm not sure of anything offhand, but the one advice that I could give is to have, if you have access to a native speaker, and in this case, because you all are such a small group, you know, I am happy to read through your manuscripts as a native English speaker. Again, I don't have expertise by any means in your field. I'm education, but I am happy to read through for that purpose. And as you move forward, you know, I won't always be accessible, but if you can have, you know, someone, or maybe, you know, maybe there's a international conference that you attend where you can network and meet people who are native English speakers who could serve, you know, kind of as a writing buddy for that purpose. But I mean, it's I'm sure the type of book you're looking for, it's like a genre-based, you know, research article, genre-based. I can understand what you're looking for, and I'll keep my eyes open and maybe start looking at myself, but you know, even things for like transitions or general.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks a lot, Katie, and also for your offer.
Sure.
This would help a lot. Yes. And I know that I have this collection of academic phrase bank, but yeah, I'm not 100% satisfied, and I even feel that it can even be better than that. So thanks a lot for that.
Sure. The other thing is, I would hope that your journals, I mean, I think all of your levels of English are obviously very, very strong. You know, to have been admitted for the CC program, they have to be strong. So I also think that journal articles that are internationally based understand that this is not, English is not first language for a lot of their authors. And therefore, I would imagine their editorial team is aware of that. And if and when your manuscript is accepted, it will be accepted with major edits, minor edits, and all those language idiosyncrasies will be addressed at that point too. So while they want to ensure that you are stating your ideas clearly so that they can grasp the main ideas of your manuscript, they're not, my guess is they're not going to, you know, not accept you because of your word choice or, you know, lack of idiomatic expressions or something. So be aware that I think, you know, a prestigious international journal won't discriminate for not having the exact language. It would be my hope and guess. So.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Sure. Other questions or comments? So I want to conclude. We're going to spend the last 20 minutes or so actually just writing. We're going to use this as writing time. But I want to let you know that next, our final session, there's a few things to do before then. I'd love for you to submit your journal by February 16th. Submit your manuscript rather to your journal. And you will get an email from that journal saying, thank you so much for your submission, blah, blah, blah. If you can forward that on to me, I would love that, right? For like accountability purposes. So feel free to forward that on. And then we will meet on, I think it's the 17th of February. And we will just talk about next steps in terms of what is happening right now with your manuscript, how it's being reviewed, and thinking through what happens when you get the results, whether it's rejected, minor edits, major edits, or whatnot. Okay. So if there's no other questions, I would invite you just to mute, stay online, open up your Word document of choice. do something productive that is related to your writing process. Okay? How does that sound? Sound okay? Great. Because even these 20 minutes, really important. Well, thank you all for joining, and I'll let you have at your writing.
Thanks a lot, Katie.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see
Thank
you all too.
you.